And I always knew, like, the woman that's sitting here with you today, she's always been there. But you're right, I've had to kind of build her back. And so confidence for me is, it's everything, because it's what will help you not just thrive in your life, but really enjoy it as well.
Yeah. So welcome back to another episode of the 29er Show, where we go behind the scenes with the thinkers, the makers, the leaders, and the storytellers shaping business, creativity, and life on their own terms. Today's guest is someone we've known and admired for years, and we're so excited to finally have her here with us. Sheryl Findlay is a powerhouse, a global brand, marketing and communications leader with a career that's taken her from Scotland to Hong Kong in boardrooms around the world. But she's also a transformational coach and a mentor helping people build confidence, clarity, and mindset for meaningful change. Through her platform, she's supporting ambitious individuals to redesign their lives and their own stories. We're going to explore her career, her journey, the mindset that changed her life, and the bold message she's putting into the world about what it means to really invest in yourself. So, Sheryl, welcome to the 29er Show. I can't believe it's been so long since we last seen you.
I know. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. It is an honour. And I'm really excited. It's been a long time, but we built such a strong friendship when we initially met and we all started working together. And I've certainly carried it with me and think of it often. So I'm just super psyched to be here.
Do you remember when we first met? Do you remember anything?
So I was working on a campaign based up in Aberdeen. It was all around like oil and gas. Actually hugely interesting. But what I would say is something that I asked myself as a marketing leader, I always want to tell really powerful stories. Yeah. And I always want to make sure that we're making our audience feel something, right? Yeah. I never just want to do something because that's the job. Yeah. I want excellence. I seek excellence in everything I do. And I'm sure this will be a theme that emerges throughout the discussion. And we were introduced and I was blown away. I actually remember sitting in your studios and crying, watching video back that you guys had shot for us. Yep. And yeah, you were able, you just like opened up my heart and my mind, I think, to the power of video.
And storytelling and creative. And like you said, a subject that's really powerful, but not often one that's sexy to tell the story.
Right.
But, yeah.
And also it can be, unless you are in that industry, it can be perhaps a little dry. But there is ways and means, and people who are phenomenal at what they do, like you guys, actually even changed the way I thought about the campaign and the brief and what it was. You know, you challenged me to think like, but how do we want people to feel? And now I know that is a question that we ask as marketers and creatives all the time. But you didn't just want to do a job, you wanted to do like a phenomenal job.
And I think it's like you said there, it's the challenge part. We always say that to our customers. We never just take a brief. We have to challenge the thinking. And it's funny because obviously now when I see you on social and the things you put out, you're constantly challenging your own thinking, but then you're challenging your customers' thinking and how they think about their life and their belief. And so no matter what, we always say that about our customers. We work across so many industries, but actually what you learn across them all is the same. You just have to constantly challenge what you think is the norm, what you can do. And obviously you do that from your career all the way through to the coaching as well.
Yeah. And what you're actually talking about there, it's a fascinating point, but we're talking about collective learning, collective expansion, because I only know what I know. And when we bring a powerful team around us, now whether that's in a corporate setting, whether it's in a creative setting, whether it's in a coaching community, when you bring the power of team, you're sharing everybody's insights, everybody's inspiration, everybody's learnings, and you're combining it. And it becomes this like magnetic, powerful force. Yeah. Like we will not do like industry changing, groundbreaking work by ourselves.
No.
Even as an entrepreneur.
No.
You need to be part of a community and you need to be working with people that you would just never get those ideas by yourself.
Yeah. And we always say that you need to surround yourself with people who you feel are better than you, because that's the only way you're going to learn, the only way you push yourself forward. We always say, you never want to be the smartest person in the room. You have to always be getting that one step ahead from everyone in the company and in the
100%.
team. Definitely. So I'm going to jump into some questions which take us to like your origin story. So take us back when you were just starting out in marketing. Did you have any idea where this would all go, or were you just following like the next sensible step?
It's an excellent question. And honestly, I knew. I had seen it all in my mind from a very early age. I was always extremely ambitious, extremely driven, and I didn't know the hows of it all. I just knew more like the work ethic of it all. I was naturally intelligent, but still had to study hard. And there were some subjects that just came really easily to me, and there were some that didn't. And so I had always seen like business. I had always imagined myself and I'd visualized myself, in the big high-rise buildings, dressed smartly. And I always knew it was business, but then it wasn't. I think it was around kind of teenage. I had this creative side as well. And even going back to, this shows my age, but when I used to make like mixtapes for my sisters, I would brand them all with the brand that I have on my Instagram handle. Like that has been my brand since I was 12 or something.
Yeah.
And so I've always worked. I've always had this like almost like belligerent work ethic. And I learned it from my parents, and it's the greatest gift I've ever been given, to be honest.
Because it's a jump. Obviously, you've obviously had that entrepreneurial spirit in you since the beginning. If you were doing that, obviously you've then went into the corporate world, but underlying, you've probably had that entrepreneurial spirit since the very beginning.
Always. And it's this like juxtaposition almost, because you're giving your heart and soul for a corporate, and that has been my mindset, I'll be honest, or it was up until a point, and I'm sure we'll get there. Like just absolutely work your socks off and go above and beyond and be like outwork everybody in the room, and that'll take you into the next room and the next room.
That's that spirit.
That's the spirit. But that actually is entrepreneurial. It doesn't matter what your environment or your circumstances are. That's just your working, how you approach work. And so I would say that I landed a job at Grant Thornton, and I would say it changed my life because it brought me through to Edinburgh. I'd had great jobs before that as well, but this was the one. It changed my life. And then that led me on to, I was headhunted by PwC, and that's where I met you. And I just literally took every opportunity that was presented to me. Any project where they needed someone, my hand was first up. Almost perhaps to a point where people were like, her again? I don't care. Like, I'm going to do me, and I'm going to drive, and I'm mindful of others in the room. It's not that I want to dominate. It's not that. But if no one else is putting their hand up, I'll get the job done. Yeah. And I'll take all the learnings and all the experience and all the connection that comes with it and roll it forward into the next thing.
Yeah.
And so my PwC experience, I would say, was like remarkable. I grew up there because it was 10 years I spent there, and it took me all around the world, like you mentioned.
But then again, that entrepreneurial spirit and drive made you take the next step and like keep going, because just to stay the same and stay there would probably crush that a little bit, because that's what's in you, is to keep driving forward and keep going for change.
I love the way that you said would crush you a little bit, because that's exactly how it can feel, I think, when you're... I don't think that any of us should really be just doing the same thing for it any longer than maybe a year and a half or 2 years, right? Because you do need to grow, and you do need to challenge yourself, and you need to step into the next version of you, which will not be built or created until you take the first step. So you can't just sit and talk about getting out your comfort zone and just expect like all of these changes. Change is really difficult, and it creates this like horrible feeling in your body. But if you can learn to navigate and master and set yourself up with skills that will help you be successful, like the world's yours. Go get it.
Definitely. And that's what leads me into the next question is, you've worked across cultures, time zones, industries, and how has that global lens shaped your sense of brand, leadership and connection?
That's a really big question. So I would say, I think my first thing is I would open with a tip. I think like for others watching, listening, do exactly that. Watch and listen, because I have watched and I have like just soaked up everything that I've seen. And I've seen all sorts of different styles of leadership. I try to take the best of all of it. Look, I'm a heart-led person. I love seeing what people can do when they are driven by confidence and not fear.
Yeah.
But I'm also, I have a really high standard of what I'm looking for, and I'm very professional. And so there's this balance, I would say, of like coach, nurture, lead from the front, but also like we've got a job to do and we're all going to pull in until we get it done. And I need everybody knowing where their part of the machine is, but never in a way that is like veering into that kind of toxic leadership. That's just, I actually have a real like problem with that. And I just don't think it's necessary.
No. And you say that watch and listen and learn. Where do you take a lot of your influence from? Obviously, you've probably took a lot of influence through your career of people you've worked with, but outside of that, where do you go when you want something that just, you know, gives you that bit of a dopamine hit, a kick? What's your thing that you go to?
Yeah, good question. I think, look, we can learn from everybody because of social and our access to literally every book, every resource is available to us. I love podcasts. And I make sure that I am watching or listening to a couple of podcasts a week. I put my AirPods in and I go out walking and I'm just me, myself. And even one episode, I'll be like, I just learned 200 new things that I didn't know.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think we can get a little, not lazy, but we can get a little like, oh, I just want to be with my own thoughts. I want to listen to music because learning is work and that's okay.
Yeah, your brain's going. Yeah,
exactly. It's okay to like disengage the brain and take the rest in the space. That's actually what the gym has become to me. But there are like, I love Barack Obama. I am obsessed with him. I love Oprah Winfrey. I love Meghan Markle, Emma Grede. Like I'm just always watching and learning from people that I admire and just learning as much as I can.
And it's a change we've seen, and we've been to a lot of speaker sessions and things, and there was someone there talking about how now children are growing up with the influence of anyone. They can watch anyone, they can admire to be anyone, whereas 10, 20 years ago, you were really admiring to be the girl next door, the girl in your school. You know, you knew of these celebs. We're both the Spice Girls fans. Like, you know, that was the height. But now everyone can get access to anyone in the world and learn. So it's really changing the way children today, and then obviously us, everyone is being able to learn through places that would never exist 10, 20 years ago.
100%. And also people that have passed now as well, right? Like people that have shaped the world, shaped industries. We can learn all of it. We can go back. We can read speeches. We can all of those resources are available to us and to people who are learning. It's exciting.
I know, and that's where trying to get your content out there as well, so that people can learn from you in years and years and years to come.
That's certainly the goal.
That's the goal. So moving on then more to where you are now. So you're a coach now, but what was the turning point where you just stopped and started asking yourself, is this what I want to do? Is this the goal that I'm pushing now?
So as we've noted, I always had that entrepreneurial spirit, and truth be told, I always had some sort of side hustle business running alongside. I had a skincare business, I had a jewellery business. Like I always had something, because I'm not the kind of individual who's going to want to just sit down and watch the television at night or spend my weekends like watching TV or I don't know, other things. So I've always wanted to put all this extra energy into something for me. But I had a real significant turning point. In 2019, I actually had a cancer diagnosis, and it was obviously devastating, and absolutely my whole world like imploded. And so during those, honestly, the kind of darkest months of my life, during those months, you question everything. Yeah. You question, and for me, it was like my legacy. I don't have any children yet. And so I was like, what am I leaving behind? Like, what has my positive impact been? Like, she was a great employee really? Like, is that what I want to leave?
Especially with that spirit in you, like that's not enough.
No, it's not enough.
No.
It's not enough. Even if people were like, but she was a really, really great employee, like that's not it. No. That's not the thing that I was, and depending on your belief system, right? It's not the thing that I was sent here to do. However, it has set me up for, I have amazing global networks. I have met phenomenal men and women across the world that I stay in touch with, like you guys. And so it's put me in this position where I think I've probably always been coaching anyway. Yeah. People would come to me for advice, and I also had a significant weight loss in my life as well. I had a 17-stone weight loss, which is, I know, is crazy. And so people have always sought me out for advice about career, advice about health and fitness, even things like what products do you use, all of those sorts of things. And so I sort of promised myself during those dark months, I was like, and sort of, I know this is a little heavy, but that's real life, right? If I get another chance on the side of cancer, I'm going to do it different. I'm going to do it different, and I'm going to build something really meaningful, not just meaningful for me, but that has huge positive impact for others and helps others. And now, fortunately, I did get another chance on the other side of cancer. And like, I just got to work immediately. Like, I done a coaching accreditation, and I perhaps didn't have to do that. But as you can probably tell, I'm hugely professional. I want everything to be just so. Yeah. And so I done my coaching qualification. And on the day that I graduated, someone got in touch and said, I'm looking for a life coach. Do you know anybody? And I was like, and there was client number one. A business was born. And so my business actually turned 3 yesterday.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And that's where it started.
Yeah. And that's the legacy that you have, is that all these people that you're helping and making changes in their life was a result of something you've said or something you've done or something they've changed because of you. So you're leaving all these little pieces of legacy in all these people's lives. So it's huge for you to make that step. And obviously you've used that horrible time in your life to make that massive change.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah. You have lots of legacies, lots of people there.
Thank you.
So you talk a lot about confidence, but not the loud kind. The confidence from within. And where do people go wrong when they're trying to find that within themselves?
A lot of places, and I'm so glad we're talking about this topic because it's huge and it impacts the way that we talk to ourselves. That's also part of the answer as well, by the way. The way that we move through our day, the way our body language, the way we communicate with a person, but it's bigger because it will also, it will limit us. It will stop us from going for that job because people can often go into this negative downward spiral. Now, when we're doing new things, as we spoke about, change is difficult. Getting outside your comfort zone is difficult. Having an inner knowing, and that's what I think about confidence as being, this inner knowing that like, hey, I've got it. And if I need to figure it out, I will. Or if I can't figure it out, I'll ask for help. But either way, I'm going to be good. And then there's that comes in different levels. Yep. And I would say that I was born with a great amount of confidence, but it's something that I continue to work on. Now, we build confidence by doing things that are outside our comfort zone. Like, so for example, I mentioned that I used to be extremely out of shape and overweight. I now go and do fitness competitions all around the world. Now, you cannot imagine the spiral in my mind. The very first time I signed up for one of those, I was like, why am I here? What am I doing? Because somewhere in my mind is still that, young girl that definitely couldn't have competed in a high rocks or whatever it is I do now. But actually, when we do difficult things, we prove to ourselves we're building like a bank of evidence. I can. It's hard, but I can. Yeah. And so confidence for me is, it's everything because it's what will help you not just thrive in your life, but really enjoy it as well.
Yeah. And it's also that it was something I was listening to, like you said, I always listen, and probably for me, I go to Instagram more where I get like the snippets of things, like the one-liners that just stick with you, and I write them down. And it was someone said that about confidence and also that self-belief. And it was someone saying, if you're if your first instinct when someone, like you were saying about high rocks, your first instinct is to say, why am I here? Why am I doing this? And they were saying, just catch yourself really quickly and tell yourself the best case scenario out of everything.
Yep.
That it all worked out, that you had the highest confidence, that you went in there believing yourself. What's the best thing that could have come out of this? And just go on that basis. But the hardest bit is catching yourself doing that and doubting your confidence and doubting your self-belief first, really.
But that's amazing.
Yeah.
And actually what you've brought to the table there is the importance of self-awareness.
Yeah.
And that's where modalities like meditation and things come in really handy, is because they encourage us to slow everything down, and so we're present. But they also, it's like thinking about thinking.
Yeah.
Like cognitive, you're thinking about, how am I thinking about this? Why am I thinking about that? And so if you can master that, and like journaling helps with that too.
Yeah.
If you can slow it all down so that you're assessing and just observing your thoughts, you don't need to be running in amongst them all, just observing your thoughts, then you can change a different thought.
Yeah.
And then that changes everything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just trying to catch it.
Catch it.
And that for me, like the start of last year, I read Atomic Habits book. So that kind of put me on that path. But it was then, and I know everyone kind of talks about it, but it was the whole let them theory at the start of this year that then pivoted it again for me. But for me, it's just about catching yourself, because you spiral and then all of a sudden you pull yourself back and be like, nope, just let them do it. This is going to be the best thing ever. But like you said, it's the self-awareness and trying to catch it before you let yourself go down that path.
Yeah.
Which leads us into the next question nicely. And all the people that you coach, what's the limiting belief that you see the most?
It's confidence. It really is. I can't do that. I can't, not me, not worthy. It's definitely confidence.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's something that probably, I always say this to people in work and things like that. If you're, I'm lucky that I can stand up and do presentations, do this today, and obviously everyone gets nervous. Everyone has that moment of, should I be doing that? But I always in my head think, imagine the person you see doing it and just pretend to be them for half an hour.
100%.
Just pretend to be them. And then you can go away, go in the bathroom and have your moment. But go up there and stand there as if you're the person that you think can do it. And then you'll be fine.
But that's a great tip.
Yeah.
It is a great tip.
Yeah.
And also it's definitely something that I've used in my life as well.
Yeah.
Like I look at people who perform to like thousands, millions. I look at Beyonce. She's still just a person.
Yeah. Who'll still get nervous.
Who'll still get nervous, of course. But then there's finding a way. Obviously, she has like a stage persona, right? She has Sasha Fierce, and then she becomes this, and that's fine too. There's loads of different strategies that you can utilize to help you perform. And I do talk about performance within my coaching as well. If you go into like a client pitch, you're performing. And so there's ways that we can set you up for success.
Yeah.
Something that I do often with my clients is help them prepare for like promotion, going through panel process, looking for a new job, things like that. And it's deep immersive work, but there's so many tools that we can use, like visualization, see yourself winning, see the outcome, let your body feel how nervous you're going to be now whilst it's safe. Then you've already done it in your mind.
Yeah.
But I also, someone else that I thought of often when I started, as my stages were getting bigger and bigger, I also thought of people like Kate Middleton. Now she has to stand up, not necessarily a media personality, but she has to stand up and deliver speeches and deliver things. Like if she can, you can, I can, we all can.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to want to, like the deep root of it. If you want to push yourself to do that, then like it's in you, but you just have to put on your Sasha Fierce and get up there and do it.
Get up there and do it. You'll be fine.
That kind of moves into the next question really nicely. You said confidence is both a skill set and a mindset. Give us the Sheryl starter pack, 3 ways to build that confidence muscle.
3 ways to build your confidence muscle. Number 1, talk to yourself with love and only love. If you start planting negative words into your physiology, they multiply. So we want to be talking to ourselves really, really kindly. And you guys heard me when we were setting up, right? I take it further than that. Even if you feel a bit cringe, every word that you tell yourself should be with ultimate love. Next thing, you got to take care of yourself, mind, body, soul. So fitness has changed my life, and I cannot underestimate that point. And not everybody has to go and like want to take on competitions and weightlifting, and it's not that. But there is a natural boost of endorphins when you exercise, even if it's just a big walk or, you know, it can be any things. But fitness is a non-negotiable if you want to feel like your best self. And then the third thing I would say is, I mean, I could give you 10 to be honest. I'm trying to think which one is most important. The people that you surround yourself with is so important. I was actually listening to a podcast the other day and they were saying that even friends of your friends, their limiting beliefs will filter through to you.
Yep.
So that like core inner circle that you have around you, make sure that they are like your A team. And you can also pay those people too, right? It can be a coach, a personal trainer, whoever the people are that you want around you. Like make sure that that's the biggest influence and the biggest impact in how you're talking to yourself, how you're living your life, the goals you're setting for yourself, because all of that is enormous.
Because you are the people around you. And it's
100%.
that old saying when you were younger, and it was like you fly with the crows and you get shot with the crows. It's the same as when you're older. You need to surround yourself with people who are going to say your name in a room when you're not there, are going to stand up for you, but are also going to be there when you don't know you need them. And I think that's also really important.
And they'll remind you of your power.
Yeah.
I have some big things happening in my life at the moment, and I had, I don't know, 7, 8 people yesterday really leaning in, and I didn't ask for it. I'm so lucky, but I had a couple of people really leaning in and just reminding me of my purpose, my power, and that's, you can't buy that.
Yeah. And back to the first point that you said about how you speak about yourself, it's something that's always rang true to me, because you can kind of spiral into sometimes just being like, don't like the way I look there, don't like this, don't like that. But something that I always try and keep hold in my head is, would I say that to my niece? So you wouldn't. I wouldn't. The words that you say to, if I was sitting there as a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 15-year-old, you wouldn't say that to that person. So why are you saying it to the only person that will be there with you for the rest of your life?
For the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And even if you can't fully get behind it to begin with, that's okay. But the more you say it to yourself, the more you'll believe it. Like, hey, you look great today. I love you. I'm proud of you. We're going to go smash it because we can. Like, even if it feels a bit, and for some people that might feel a little cringe, but here I am, however many years down the line, and like that's just how I speak to myself every day. It feels great.
Yeah. And then you radiate from it as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, you do. So diving in just to a wee bit more of the deeper stuff that obviously you have touched on there, it's safe to say that you've rebuilt your life from the inside out. But was there a moment in that journey that it just fundamentally rewired everything for you? And obviously you mentioned your diagnosis with cancer and how that did change your world, your life. Is that something that you think now wasn't a positive in your life, but without that, where would you be? Where would you have kept? Would you just kept on that hamster wheel of in your corporate world, or do you think you would have always made the change somewhere?
I think so. I think there's been 2 real catalyst moments in my life. I think one was seeing a picture of myself from a friend's wedding, when I was 22 or 23, and I hadn't realised how deeply unhappy and lost I was. And I always knew, like, the woman that's sitting here with you today, she's always been there. But you're right, I've had to kind of build her back. So seeing that picture led me to completely overhaul my lifestyle. And that's what I talk about often on my socials and with my clients, right? It's let's style your life. How do you want your life to look? How do you want to feel? And so I had to address some challenges. I worked with a dietitian, I went for therapy, and I had to like really overhaul my life. Now that took me to the next level, and it took me all around the world, landed me jobs like at PwC, and it was phenomenal. And then, as you mentioned, the second kind of real life-changing moment was that diagnosis and treatment. And it was only like 3 days after I was home from hospital from my treatment that COVID hit. And so I had to go into isolation because I was obviously unwell. I was poorly and recovering. And so I had a lot of time by myself. And I am, it sounds like an odd thing to say. I just so trust that the path that has been given to me, you know, that saying, like, I've been assigned this mountain to show others it can be moved.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I feel.
Yeah.
And although it was devastating, like, I will never waste a day.
Yeah.
I'll never.
It's changed everything.
It's changed everything. And where I was already like positive and go-getter and like of a sunny disposition, it's like just absolutely amplified now. And I won't get worked up over small things. I won't lose my cool. That's just not really my nature anyway. But life is really short. We don't know what lies ahead. Go do the things you want to do and live a life that makes your heart sing.
Yeah. And it's also, I'm a big believer in the universe, and I'm a big believer in, you just have to trust the timing of your life.
Yes.
And there's a path there, and we all have ups and downs and mountains and caves and everything that we need to go through. But sometimes the journey that we've been put on, we're put on for a reason.
Definitely.
And like you go back to about the legacy, that journey has led you to where you are now, to leave all these legacies amongst all these people. Yeah. Having you not had that, what would, like, that's the question that you'll always have, is what would have happened. Mm-hmm. So it's been a horrible period of your life, but actually what it's gave you is the biggest reawakening.
Absolutely. That's exactly it. What a fantastic word.
Yeah.
A reawakening.
A reawakening. So something that people throw around a lot is the word resilience, and they throw it around, some people say it's a bit like confetti, but what does that actually mean to you, and what does that actually look like when you see that across the customers that you coach?
So for me, resilience is something that we can build for sure, but I actually run at resilience with a slight caution, because I think people can interpret resilience to mean just keep going. Mm-hmm. And I actually think there's great strength and great power in saying, like, no, I need some help.
Acknowledging to stop. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like my body, and this will happen for all of us, you know, in mainstream media now, we talk often daily about anxiety and things that really didn't get that much airtime or discussed. Now we can debate for hours where that's came from, the rise of social media, COVID impacting the working world and people working from home. So many different theories, probably mixture of all of them have combined, right? But with that, I think true resilience is being able to, I was going to say bounce back up, but I think I mean step back up, not bounce, but step back up with greater clarity, greater conviction and greater confidence. But I think it should always be from a well-being first perspective. We need to know what is causing us to feel a type of way, and then seek help. There's nothing wrong, like I've mentioned, therapy. Obviously, I'm a coach. I work with people who are looking to create change in their life. Like there are people who are experts, and oftentimes perhaps you're feeling stifled, frustrated, stuck, stagnating, because you're not doing the thing that you're supposed to do. And we're actually not taught how to figure out what we want to do. That's my privilege as a coach, to spend time with people and understand, like, what would make you feel phenomenal every day? How do you want to spend the hours that you have been gifted? And then we get a plan in place, and then we get a bit more practical. But that is such a worthwhile endeavor, an investment for your life we're talking about. So I think, coming back to your question, I think resilience for me is about being able to chart a course forward, but in a way that feels good to you, that makes you feel strong and self-assured.
And I think a point that you made there, it's also about knowing when isn't the right time to stand back up. And it's something I always kind of in my head go back to, is you need to recognise inside that it's time to stop, because then your body will force you to stop at an inconvenient time. So it's like you need to recognise when you're hitting that point and just take a minute. And often, because we always say that in work, that the only time we get off is Christmas, running the business, the only time that your mind gets the chance to completely switch off. You're not thinking about emails, you're not thinking about what's going on in the office when you're off. And we say that 9 times out of 10, one of us gets sick during Christmas because you've just ran at such a speed all year, and we're constantly internally saying, take time out, because otherwise it's just going to hit when we can't afford for it to hit. And we need to just acknowledge that we all need to just take that time to step down so that we can stand back up when we're needed.
It's such a great point, and I think you've hit on a couple of things there that I'm glad we're going to discuss, right? You also asked, like, what really impacts people's confidence? Comparison. Now, we see everybody's everything online now, right? We see their busy agenda. We see them at the gym at 5 a.m, like, guilty, I do that too. But we see things and then we make an assumption and we think everybody has their stuff together 100% of the time.
It all worked out.
They don't. No one does. No one does at all. And so you do not need to be on the go 24/7. In fact, it's really damaging and dangerous to be on the go 24/7. And invest in rest. It's called restoration. Like, you will feel better on the other side of it. So investing in your rest, just in terms of like holistic health and wellness, is fundamental.
Yeah. And that goes into this word, is you really do straddle two worlds of executive and empath as well. And it's, how do you keep both parts of those alive as they're both very different and you have to put different hats on with both of them?
I'll be honest, that's actually something that I find quite difficult.
Okay.
And I do feel the pull, especially as I've got more senior, I feel the pull. Because I find it's so important to me that people work on work that they're excited by, and that they're learning, and that they're thriving, and that they're in an environment that can support their mental well-being. I'm not one for, although, again, and this is where the pull comes, because I have worked, and I don't say it with a badge of honour, but if I look back at my early days of my career when I was like so hungry, I was working 3 a.m, 4 a.m, 5 a.m. I'd jump on conference calls with New York whilst I was living in Hong Kong, and it was 2 a.m, and I didn't bat an eyelid. No problem, I'll be on the call. Sheryl, that's 2 a.m. for you local time. It's cool.
Yeah.
Like, I would not do that now because I've learned lessons. But I don't want my team having to do that. However, we have things to deliver. We have clients. We have, there's things to... It's the balance. And so actually what it comes down to is like clear prioritization.
Yeah.
Clear scope, like, and also like realistic timelines around things. And when there's always going to be ambiguity. There's always going to be problems that we need to solve together, but we will always all do that better and with a better outcome if we are well rested, if we are thriving, if we have, we've got the time to take care of ourselves, we're hydrated, all of those things. We will all collectively do better work if we're taking care of ourselves. Yeah. It's an excellent question about that empath and executive.
Yeah, you kind of straddle both, and that's where it's a big question, is around female leadership in 2025, because obviously from your perspective, you've got that role there of the executive, like you're saying, global, but then you're the leader of your own life, you're a female leader in your own world. So what do you think female leadership stands for, and what do we need to burn down still for that to happen?
So
Get your Oprah Winfrey out here.
Absolutely. I think what female leadership stands for is creating a path for those that will come after us and making it easier. And I think what's different, and actually I am going to mention it, it's interesting, when I was driving through today, obviously I was thinking about you and conversations we've had, and female leadership for me was genuinely born out of seeing the Spice Girls. Like, take over the world. And I spoke to you about it before. I said, I think there's this thing called the Spice Girl effect. And there's this whole generation of us who lead in a different way, far more unapologetic. And we've also had access to different resources. Like, when I talk about leadership with my mum, she's like, I've never even heard half of the things that you had heard by the time you were 22. Like, I had no idea. And so first of all, I would say we're lucky. But the fight is far from over, to be honest with you. I still continue to see disparity. I still continue to see, and sometimes it's nuanced and subtle, but in a virtual working world where we're all on conference calls and Zoom calls all the time, I'll see the females stop if they think they've interrupted the male, and the male will keep going. Like, I see it, I still see it all the time.
Yeah.
And so I think we need men to continue to advocate for us too. And I have seen some like phenomenal examples of that. But I think inherently it's about creating an environment that sets everybody, regardless of gender, up for success. As part of my coaching, I have a membership, and I've built this phenomenal community. And I have kept it as a women's only space. And the reason I've done that, and I must tell you, Katelin, I was really conflicted because I want to help anyone who needs it and everyone. And I do have male clients as well. But when I was setting up the space, the first month I actually did have a couple of gentlemen in there, and I loved it. And I love alpha masculine energy. Like I love that energy. That's like probably the gym side of me. And I surround myself with really strong men as well, because it's great for me to learn and absorb that energy, and it gets me out of my head. And then I feel like I almost transfer that on through to the women that I work with, that like, don't overthink it, just go do it. Yeah. Because that's the alpha way. And so, but I think it's really important to me for women to always feel like it's a safe space. Yeah. To really be honest about their doubts, their fears, what's holding them back, their relationships, how they're showing up. And so I did make the decision to make it like a women's only, a female space. And I'd still think about it all the time, but now with how much is growing and the power of that community, like I can't believe what it's become in 6 months, to be honest with you. But I think that would be my concluding point, would be, but there's so much that male and female can still continue to learn from each other. Yeah. And if we can bring all that alpha masculine, let's create change drive with all of our intuitive, empathetic, considered, feminine, that's the dream, right?
And it goes back to what you talked about earlier. There's power in doing it together. And it's just everyone being on the same page and knowing where we're pushing forward and going. And like we talked about, it's, you know, if you're going to go do something and have that, you know, if they can do it, I can do it. And that does go back to, obviously, when we talk about the Spice Girls. Growing up, they were the girl band. That was new. That was, everyone could identify with someone. A wee bit like the whole Friends TV show. Everyone could identify. And even to this day, you know, people make jokes. I had my 30th birthday party a couple of years ago, and me and my cousins all dressed up as the Spice Girls. And the first instinct, we all naturally just picked one that we wanted to be. And I think that is just so deep rooted in you that they were the top, they were the Beyonce, let's say, of our generation.
Absolutely.
And they still are a little bit.
Yeah, they are.
But that goes back to, you know, you put yourself in their persona. You were that person, no matter who. I was always Scary Spice, so I always was the scary one. But you pick someone that you can align to, and that's like now what we were talking about earlier. We're always looking for more inspiration, new leadership, and we're getting that now easier than we were back then. But they were our first step into, you could be them, you could be that.
Exactly. Like reimagine what's possible for you. Yeah. And then I think you asked this great question about what do we need to burn down. I think the thing that really stands out for me is, so whilst the best of both would be phenomenal, because of history and men being in most leadership positions. Now, again, there's progress. It's far from perfect, but there's progress. We need to burn down hierarchy. Everybody is human and everybody is of equal standing when it comes to their rights, respect, who should be listened to. And so I think, especially in a working environment, I think, you know, you could come up with an idea just as good as mine or better than mine, and so could the CEO, so could the CFO, so could the CMO. Like, we need to just create room and try to be less hierarchical. And that's something that I've taken throughout my whole career. I don't care who's in the room with me, we're all equal and we're all going to solve. Yeah. And that's something we say all the time at 29. Like, if there's a new person that comes in, you're just as important as the person that's been here for 15 years, that started the business. If you are here, it means you're valued. It means you can bring an idea. Like you said, whether you're in finance, whether you're in projects, or you're head of creative, your idea can be heard because it might spark something. Exactly. It might change a direction. Totally. And also it gives us perspective that we wouldn't maybe have seen or thought of. So yeah, it's something that we always try and empower, like, all our team internally to always say that. And, you know, everyone's just as important. Love it.
So when things get really noisy for you, so professionally, emotionally, spiritually, what's your reset button?
Honestly, I'll take a little rest, and I do that. I know people often are like, oh, I think you're going to burn out. I'm like, no, trust me, I'm good. I just maybe don't put it on my socials. So I take a little space. I do actually like to be by myself. I have a beautiful home. It's called Hope House, and it was a home that I bought to rebuild. And it's a real sanctuary for me. And so I'll just do exactly that. I'll quieten everything down, and like no phone, no like just completely off the grid.
Yeah.
I also love walking. I've done the West Highland Way a couple of times now, and it's something that feels like a gift, because there was that first part of my life where I wasn't able to really, because I was, very heavy. Walking just soothes the soul. And I love it. And really simple things. And this is like when my clients first come in to work with me, the first couple of things that we talk about is like the foundations. So I just make sure I'm hydrated. I make sure I'm eating like nourishing food. I make sure I'm getting sleep, and I make sure I'm working out. And it's kind of nailing those basics. And what I say to people is like, fall in love with the boring stuff. I know that doesn't give you like a big dopamine hit. That's not the point. We're trying to maintain like sustainable long-term like success. Sustainable success is what I talk about. And so it's not just a big hit and then done. To create any sort of long-lasting change, whether it's weight loss, whether it's great mental health after having a difficult time, whether it's building a business, building a career. You guys know this, building a business consistently. You need to consistently show up every day. And even if it's 5 things that's going to move you closer, or one thing that's going to move you closer, just show up and do whatever you have capacity to do that day.
And it was something I'd taken. I don't like you say, you just see so much and you learn so much. Sometimes it's hard to place where you've seen it. And it was someone that said, create on your notes app a dopamine menu. And every time you do something that you go, do you know what, that made me feel good, add it. And, I did start doing it, and there's things on it. It's like an everything shower, or a walk at the beach, or take the dog a walk. But then there's things on it like 5-star holiday. There's complete opposites. But what it was teaching you to do is like when you catch yourself in that spiral, when you catch yourself thinking, I'm exhausted, it's just go there and pick one thing and just do it. And it just gives you that small hit from going and doing all your skincare, even if you've already done it, or all the way to go on a city break. It's trying to just start recognising the things that actually do bring you joy. Rather than continually going, I'm going a whole week here without doing anything I love. It's like, well, pick something every day that you do love.
There shouldn't be a whole day where you're not doing something that you find joy in. And last year I had some surgery last summer, and my recovery was quite hard going. And I started this thing, and it's so funny because I have always vowed never to be someone who would be dancing online. There was something about that trend that just like wasn't on brand for me. Probably just taking myself a bit too seriously. And I was like, I will never dance online. But then last year I started this thing called Dance Yourself Happy. And every morning I would get on my Instagram and I would pick a song, like had to be like an anthem, song, and I would dance, and I was posting it. I was going live, or I was doing Insta stories, and it's impossible. So even when you start, you're forcing it, and you're like, no, I'm not happy. Why am I dancing? This is silly. And then you get into it, and by the end of the 3.5 minutes, or whatever it is, you can't not be happy. And you also, clearly it's far more scientific than that. But you're moving all of that stagnant energy out of your body in the same way that yoga helps, and yoga's actually been very, very healing for me in my journey. You're moving all of that like energy out of your body and creating space for how you want to feel, which is joy and happy and inspired.
It's that old thing of just dance it out. I see that all the time.
Dance it out.
It came from, did you ever watch Grey's Anatomy?
No, I didn't.
So that's their thing. So when things get stressful, they just dance it out. So that's every kind of couple of episodes. It's just about shaking it off and dancing it out.
I'll need to watch that.
Yeah, you need to watch it. You'll love it. So this is the last question of the main set, and then we've got some quick fire for you. Okay. So if someone's listening to this and they're stuck and they're on the edge of change but scared to take that leap, what's your message to them?
Reach out to a coach. Don't do it alone. Change is incredibly daunting and overwhelming, and you are far more likely to succeed to unearth your potential if you're doing it with someone that is qualified and can help you do so. it's 5 years down the line and I'm still working with a coach, I will never not invest in a coach. So don't go it alone. You don't have to.
It seems like there's just sometimes, I don't feel this, but I see this and I hear this with like friends and family, that there's just maybe not a stigma, but just something around asking for help and reaching out for help and then paying for help. But I think I've seen a change a lot I watch a lot of YouTube videos and travel videos and things like that. And you're seeing a lot more of these types of content creators talking about it and trying to, in a sense, debunk the need to ask for help or how you can get help. Because a lot of people just think, let's just say therapy, for example, you're going somewhere, you're lying on a couch and you're talking to someone and telling them everything about you. But actually when you're seeing people talking about it, it can be WhatsApp conversations, it can be a phone call, it can be a Teams meeting. Yeah. So it's, for some people, I think as well, it's about the perception of asking for help and then having to pay for help. But actually deep rooted, that's the only thing that's going to help them change, because you're, like you said at the very beginning, your self-awareness, a lot of people can't catch that they need it. And it needs that push, and it needs you to reach out basically and identify that that's what you need.
100%, Katelin. And my advice to people who may feel that way is you are your home.
Yeah.
And in the same way that people invest in artwork for their walls or expensive clothes for their wardrobe that they put on their body, like, you live in your body and your life is your, like, this is your legacy. And so I would actually reframe that, like, spending money or paying for help to, like, where am I going to invest in myself? And am I going to invest in artwork? Am I going to invest in wardrobe or fancy bags? Am I going to invest in a holiday twice a year that might make me happy short term, but is it going to make me, like, really, really glow from within? Or is there another way that I can invest? And I think now there's a whole range of services, price points available out there, right? So, you know, there's loads to think about. But it's also more accessible than you would think. Yeah. And that's actually why I started the membership, because I was like, I want to help as many people as possible. How can I do that and make it, like, accessible and affordable for people? And in terms of therapy, I've had therapy a few times over, and I would genuinely go as far as to say I wouldn't be sitting here in this chair, the woman that I am, without it. It has been that profound in my experience. And often when I meet with a client for the first time, I'll sometimes say, like, coaching and therapy are obviously different. And I'm not a therapist. But I'll sometimes recommend that they might want to invest in that first, or simultaneously do a parallel path where they are working on the future and what that looks like, and they're working with me and getting all of that good energy. But they're also then working with a therapist to unpack, like, we carry throughout our life, we have this, like, backpack, and any trauma, whether that's big trauma, small trauma, anything that happens, microaggressions, anything, we collect it all in our backpack. And how I describe therapy to people that have never had it is a therapist will help you, like, take all of the things out and unpack them all and organize them, put them all nice and tidy, decide what we need to keep, and then anything that we don't need anymore, we'll just get rid of it. Yeah. And so sometimes perhaps that's a helpful analogy.
Yeah. And I think as well, like we talked about right back at the beginning, you know, you need to surround yourself with people who inspire you, make you feel good, you know, push you forward. And whether that's people that you've grown up with all your life, whether that's people you need to pay to take you on that journey, it's only when you come out the end of the journey, we've got a big wall in our studio that says, start doing the things you love and you'll find the people that you love. And that's the only way you'll be able to do that, is if you love yourself. So sometimes you have to take a step back. And I always say that I treat myself to, like, a massage every couple of weeks. And I pay that girl to do that, but that is, like, the best hour. The chat, the feeling you get after it. And I always say that to my husband. I feel so much better when I come out of that. Yeah. You're then a better person. But that's the same for, like, a coach, a therapist, getting your nails done. You know, surround yourself with people who make you feel up here. Yeah. And then that's how you'll find your other circles as well.
Absolutely. Elevate, right? Yeah. Elevate your life, elevate the experiences you're having, elevate the conversation, the rooms that you're in, elevate your mindset, elevate your body. That's absolutely what it's all about. And I think of money as a resource. I think money can be an interesting subject, but how, like, I'll know people that will go and spend, like, a couple £100 on a night out, and then be like, oh, I would never have the money to invest in coaching. And I'm
Yeah.
like, it's all just choice. And that's fine too, right?
Yeah.
If that is
You
how
prioritise
no
it, yeah.
problem. Like no judgment ever. We should all just do what makes us feel phenomenal.
Yeah.
But be honest with yourself as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. So we've got a couple of quick fire questions for you.
Okay, great.
Okay. What's your one non-negotiable every day?
Meditation.
Meditation. And what would you tell 25-year-old Sheryl right now in one sentence?
You have no idea how good this is going to be.
You're good at these quick fires. Usually everyone just takes them, makes them longer. And then we've kind of obviously touched on this a little bit, but what's the mindset shift that just changed everything for you?
I would say you're more capable than you could ever imagine, but you need to step toward it, like become it first, and don't let the fear of creating change ever stop you from stepping toward the thing that your heart like craves.
Yeah. So seeing that, everyone always says, like, what's your favourite quote? And that's one of mine is, never let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game. And it's like, you can't, like, that also goes back to also what we talked about, self-awareness, and, you know, don't think about the worst case scenario, like think about the best case scenario, and don't bail out on it.
Yeah.
And then last question there, one book that you could just read over and over again that's changed everything.
Roxy Nafousi Manifest.
Okay.
Changed everything.
That's us.
Amazing.
We're finished. Anything else?
No, thank you so much for having me. It's been amazing.
It was lovely to see you again. I know. And it's great. It's always good to just chat. Also, it's good to chat not just about business and the past. And it's good to just hear about where you're going. And obviously we talked at the start about social. I see your journey and I see you going and I see the journey that you're on. But like, again, we've talked about that's a snapshot of what's going on and what's happening. So thank you for sharing with us, and hopefully you'll come and be a guest again.
I'd be delighted to. Thank you very much.
Thank you.